I am what is left of the manifestation in this world, the system, the programs that all came together into a manifestation from humanity as a whole, from the past of humanity as a whole, from the past of my generations. And on this earth, this system, these programs that manifested me into a living or functioning human being in this world, I was known by the name of Gaddafi. However, what I am now is a remnant of what I existed as on this earth, and what was left as me after I died is and was simply a presence, and the presence I would define as a extreme clarity and directiveness with a tinge of assertiveness, and that is all that remained of me, simply a presence after I died and left my human physical body, and all the systems, all the programs, all the constructs, all the symbols, all the languages, all the codes, all the numbers, all the sounds, all the resonances, all the dimensions, everything that made up the living, functioning system known by the name of Gaddafi. And I've come through to do an interview on an interesting point that came up for me as I was walking my life review in the interdimensions. And maybe before we get there, I should explain what death is. Death is essentially the end of a system. When I died and I was walking my life review, I could see what everything in fact really is, and could understand why it is that I could not make more of myself and my life and my people than what I initially desired. And within that also explained why it is that many human beings that are in positions in this world of especially leadership, status, importance, responsibility in terms of an extensive amount of human beings, are extremely misunderstood. Obviously, only some of them. And that is what I would like to clarify in this interview, that would maybe give oneself a different perspective in considering human beings' positions in this world system, and not readily judge, discriminate, or attack certain decisions and directives that are made by them, through understanding what it is that I will be sharing. So death, I realized as I was walking my life review, was the end, the disconnection of a total system from its source, that is and has been the human physical body. Many that has walked with Desteni and the interviews that has been done with interdimensions that has come through this portal in explaining and giving perspective of what it is that we in fact are in our very living, in our physical bodies, in this physical reality, is in fact systems that function according to programs. And those programs are, for example, your thinking, your experiencing of emotions and feelings, your decisions in terms of actions, your choices in terms of relationships, your moments of reflection before taking an action, your speaking, your voicing, your communication, your life path. Everything has been explained in how it in fact is a system that govern our total self, and how we have been functioning within these programs within ourselves automatically, without question. And this I could now see for myself. But what was most concerning about this is how our very thinking, our very experiencing, our very living in these physical bodies is due to and because of past generations, and how past generations accumulated in their evolution of systematic development in functioning through these programs as thoughts and experiences and behaviors that would drive and direct the total living being, how all of that came together throughout and across time and manifested the me that was Gaddafi in this world, that who and what I was in my totality was an outflow of those that have gone before me, that there was in fact no individual real me, that I was completely engrossed within past generations, and I was locked in and integrated as a total world system, and I was in essence a puppet, strings attached within the totality of myself to a total positioning of a point that I was taking within where I was standing within this world and this reality. It's like, for example, taking all human beings in this world and placing them in a circular ring, placing each and every single individual human being's family lineage in rings overlapping each other, extending outwards, so each human being would be standing and their family lineage would be standing behind them, their family's lineage would be standing behind them, and it would just be this massive amounts of circles upon each other. And placing, for example, myself in the center of it all, and drawing from all of humanity, all past generations, everything of everyone, and manifesting it into that one point, which would be me. And that is how it manifested with each and every single human being in this world and this reality. We are the product of everything and everyone and our total past within this existence. We are simply outflows of what was in this world and this reality. And what troubled me the most as I was reviewing my life and my history, my past, my decisions, my actions, the detail, what went through my mind, what I experienced, there was always this feeling, but I wouldn't say a feeling, it felt like a coldness that would come through me, that would stop me for a moment inside myself. And this would be before I would make a decision. And within that slight breeze of coldness, a knowing would come that what I'm about to do is going to have consequences that are not necessarily necessary, and that there is another way. But I would never consider or listen to or question that moment that would come up within me, and my actions, my decisions, my thinking, my experiences would always only remain within the context of what I've always known. And therefore, it's not within what human beings understand now as intuition or a voice in the head or anything like that. It was a moment of opportunity, one could say, where there is that point that exists in each and every single human being. If you are aware of yourself in slowing yourself down before you make decisions, before you take action, and you'll find that such moments come up within you, but we ignore it. And I hadn't ever realized that such moments were in fact this presence part of me that's now here speaking through the portal, that is emerging and standing in terms of showing that there is more, there is something else, there is a different way to what it is that I've always known myself to be. in my total system of what I was existing as, in my thinking, my living, my being, and my experience. And in being reminded of those moments as I was doing my life review within the interdimensions, I could see, realize, and understand that I am and was responsible for everything in my life, for all the decisions I made, for all the actions I took, for all the experiences I had, because within me was always a knowing, was always that part of me that knew that I can stop and I can change and there is another way. But I refused to acknowledge that moment within myself, and my programming, my system, the me that was here in this world, in this reality, I essentially took myself to my own death. I mean, that's what we do. We program ourselves and live ourselves in those and such programmings to and towards our own death. There was always windows of opportunity for me. I mean, there is for each and every single human being in this world, and there is most certainly not denying that moment where you know you can stop and you can change and there is a different way. But at the same time, within the certain position that I had taken within this world, in this reality, it obviously within and during my life seemed impossible for a different way, an alternate way, a solution, because I was very set in what it is that I desired to do. And I will get to that point later in terms of what really happened in my life. However, in terms of death, as I was doing life review, death is the totality of oneself in how we are in fact programs manifested into systems that we, for example, experience to be as personalities, and we function through thinking, we function through experiencing emotions and feelings, where you can even see for yourself, if you simply slow yourself down and look inside yourself, to what extent a thought will come up, a voice will come up, energy will come up, and you will follow it. It will be a following. And one will base all of one's decisions, one's actions, one's experiences on what comes up inside us. But we've never taken that moment to stop and question it, that there's something automatically coming up, and I am in fact basing myself, my decisions, my actions, my experiences on what is coming up inside me. Where is this coming from? And that total system within ourselves at death, when the total system disconnects from the human physical body, because as many that has listened to, watched and read and applied Desteni already know and understand and see the extent to which our system is integrated into the physical, where, for example, you'll have a particular thinking pattern that come up and you'll experience your pain in your physical body in relation to that thinking pattern, or how through time you realize that certain types of energies you are in fact experiencing in your human physical body, and therefore showing that connection between the mind and the thinking and the energies to the human physical body. And how I could see that this whole system was completely integrated into the physical, and when I died, this whole system shut down. It went black and grey and went into this rusty brown coloration, where before it was like this really clear silver metallic shine to it, with all these colors and movements moving within and throughout it, and from a systematic perspective it looked quite beautiful. And when I died, that just stopped, and I as a presence moved out, and the physical body remained the same, interestingly enough. Obviously, in terms of the human physical body will now, through time, deteriorate in its physical structural manifested form, but will within itself return to the substance of the earth in various ways, through animals, through bugs, through what is here of the earth, and would return. However, the system went from being that beautiful manifestation to shutting down completely, to literally evaporating, if you will, from going to that rusty brown, and eventually it just disappeared. And I, as a presence, was all that remained from all of it. So the only point within it that remained stable and that in fact returned to its original state was the physical. And once I was in the interdimensions, that's where I did my life review, which is what each and every single being does once they die. They have a look at their total life experience in facing the question, where were you? And it is interesting because when I looked at that question, that's what came up within me as I was looking at my life, was, where were you? And what was, dare I say, sad, because it's not like it's a sadness, it was something more deep and substantial and profound in that question, where were you? Because every single part of this existence asked that very question. And we tend to have a look at human beings in this world, and I mean everyone, no matter in what position you are, no matter how happy you seem, no matter how fine you seem, no matter how much money you have, no matter how little money you have, whether you're starving, in the process of dying, every single part asked that question, where were you? And that opened up the realization of how we participate in this world based upon what we see with our human physical eyes. And we have become acute within the ability to present a deception in this world, in this reality, to the extent that when we simply see someone, for example, smile, we perceive them to be happy, fine, or all right. Or if we see someone on the street and we immediately go into judgment or blame about it being their fault that they're on the street. And I looked and walked through everything and everyone with that question, and I realized that there's more than meets the eye. And we have to allow ourselves to really get to know ourselves, and through that start getting to know human beings, really. Start getting to know what is really going on behind the smile, behind sitting on the street, looking through the physical form into and as the actual source of what it is that has manifested that human being within the totality of who and how and what they are and where they are in this world, in this reality. We are so very quick to condemn and judge a human being within what it is that we're seeing, but we do not even take the time to, or the moment to get to know another human being really. Who are they? How did they get to where they are? Why are they what they are? Why are they where they are? If you simply have a look at your own life, in everything that happened to you to get you to where you are within who you are and what you do and how you do it, it is an extensive amount of influence, impact, experiences, thinking, living, doing, making mistakes, falling, standing up. And therefore, by that simple point of immediately judging someone just by one aspect of them is insanity. Because a human being does not consist of just that one moment of interaction that you have with them. A human being is the totality of their total extensive past. And in this, I realized, in seeing the totality of what is behind what we see with our human physical eyes, that I did have moments of opportunity where I could have made different decisions, taken different actions. But what I was caught up in was my desire to do something and get something done. And within that, being caught up in that desire, that one point, I neglected and separated myself from practicality in actually considering the people, the things, the family that I was in fact responsible for. And to me, within my position in this world, I justified my actions, my thinking, my experiences, my decisions, my choices, according to my desire that I do this for the people. But in that is the very separation. I do this for the people, because in doing something for someone, it's not walking with the people. I did not listen to, I did not hear, I did not see the people, in fact, in the country, the system, the politics, the money. I did not really look at everything. I did not really see everything. All I was seeing and experiencing and being, and so acting and behaving and making decisions as, was my desire to try and help, to try and get something done, to try and direct, to try and manifest a solution. And in that, I more and more and more try to find solutions in the background through different avenues and channels, because I was afraid of actually being a real leader, of actually taking responsibility for my position. And so the more and more I let my desire drive me, instead of me stopping fear and standing in an actual real leadership position, I went into back avenues and back doors and different institutions and corporations and groups to try and create a different solution for the country, for the people. And I more and more separated myself in that process from the people, from the country, from my position, from everything that I initially was wanting to do. And they do say good intentions pave the road to hell. I lived that. My intentions were always that desire to change the world, the way that was what was driving me. I mean, it was here. And however, the more and more I tried to do it in a different way, rather than having me take actual responsibility and direct and speak up, the more and more I isolated myself from my actual cause, from my actual desire, which was the people, my position. And the more and more I accumulated consequence with various different people, groups, money, and the more and more I was driving myself away